Broadcasting to all the avenues and beyond.
And all-time favorites.
This is Jubilee 99.7.
Because you love it.
Broadcasting to all the avenues and beyond.
And all-time favorites.
This is Jubilee 99.7.
Because you love it.
Broadcasting to
Are you looking for the right place to advertise your business at affordable rates? Well, don't look any further. Call the number +234 708 884 1490 for all advert placements, jingles, interviews, announcements, and lots more. Jubilee 99.7 FM Lagos. Because you love it.
Okay, so let's pick up from where we stopped last week. I was asking questions, but maybe we should just do like a refresher course for those who didn't join us last week. Maybe just help provide an overview of the tenancy laws in Lagos and how they protect both landlords and tenants.
Okay, thanks again for having me. We have two laws that are involved in Lagos State's tenancy, and these are the Lagos Tenancy Law of 2011, which provides for the general laws, and then we have the Rent Control and Recovery of Premises Law of Lagos State of 1997. Now, given that tenants are well protected under the laws because of the high level of powers that the landlords have. So, what we discussed the last time was that we've seen tenants that take advantage of these laws and how it has affected the landlords in general. We had a case whereby they spent about 28 years in courts from one appeal to the other while the tenant was living in the house for free. So it was the basis of that. I think the landlord died and two of his children also died in the course of trying to evict a tenant from their apartment, from the house. And we have to understand that the landlord's livelihood, what they use in feeding themselves, is usually these houses. That is their business. So when you take the advantage of the laws are there to protect you, quite all right, boys. You're not supposed to be making use of the law as a sword to attack or to damage landlords around Lagos or around Nigeria. So what the courts did in that case was that they decided that, okay, the major problem is most people like to take advantage of this 6 months notice, which are the notices that comes for tenancy. If you are a monthly tenant, you have a 1 month notice. If you are a quarterly tenant, you have 3 months notice. If you are a half yearly tenant, you have 3 months notice. And if you are a yearly tenant, you have 6 months notice. These are notices that are meant to be given to you as a tenant by the landlord to inform you that they are in the process of evicting you. So you have 6 months in the case of a yearly tenant to leave the premises peacefully. So usually what tenants do is they want to remain on the land until they get somewhere better, or try to persuade the landlord to continue staying there. But most tenants, when they realize that the law will allow them to stay there even after the expiration of their tenancy, they take advantage of it. And in taking advantage of it, you see them spending years on the property, but they can only do that under the supervision of a court. Those are the statutory tenants. When you're under the supervision of the courts understand status quo must remain. That is, once a matter commences in courts, however the case started until judgment has been given, you must remain that way. So the tenant will remain in the apartment in the possession, and the landlord will remain entitled but cannot evict you until it cannot evict you until judgment or the decision of the court. Now, what the court have now done is they have made it clear that irregardless of the defects on the notice, because there is a style and a way that notice must be given. Now, if there is a defect, tenants have taken advantage of defects as little as maybe the date not being properly written when with regards to the notice, or the 6 months is what you're supposed to be giving, or a date is less short than the 6 months and you have to start all over again. The rule now is once the landlord commences an eviction through the court, the 6 months will, in the case of a yearly tenant, will start to commence. So the second they get into court, 6 months starts reading. So forget that the notice is irregular, the notice is defective, it's not relevant anymore according to the new laws. Once the court starts, once an originatory process has started, the notice starts. So if you get judgment in less than 2 months, what that means is in the next 4 months, you must leave the premises. If you get judgment in less than a month, what that means is in the next 5 months, you must leave the premises. If you get judgment 7 months later, know that your expiration time has already passed 1 month. So that is the new rules of the law. So there's nothing like, oh, the tenancy notice, they did not give me proper 6 months, it is 1 day short, is this, is that. That is not existing in the law anymore. So that's just a recap of.
Okay, so I'm sure you have listened, you've heard from the lawyer, from Barrister Olumide Sonupe, giving you an overview of the tenancy laws in Lagos and how they both protect the landlords and the tenants. Okay, I have something here I'm going to be talking about right about now, and it's quite a very serious one. You know, in the case of when a tenant goes to get a place and is told to pay security deposits, and the question now is, you know, why is it that when a tenant is leaving a place, this security deposit is not given to him? You know, it is said that, okay, this money is security deposit now, right? When you're going, you're expected to be returned. So why?
Caution fee.
Yeah, caution fee or security deposit, as the case may be.
The caution fee is actually meant to be returned to the tenant in the case where there are no damages caused by the tenant's negligence or intention. So now the tenants, when they come into the property, it is always advised that they take a picture or a video evidence when they are going into the property, and anything that is defective that they see isn't proper, or maybe broken door handle, ceiling that the suspended board are not complete, you take a picture, you send it to the landlord, and you make a complaint immediately. Yes, it's something that you can repair yourself, but always make sure that you take a picture, you tell the landlord, so that in the event of when you are leaving, the landlord will not be able to point at you and say that this was not how I gave it to you.
Even when you go into a house that has cracked walls and you get to fix
You
it,
have to take a picture upon your entry into the property. Anything that you see that might be something that can be used against you, take a picture immediately. The day that you're going to do investigation, take a picture, get conversation done with the landlord, preferably WhatsApp chats, because those will be documentary.
You can document
You
them.
just screenshot it, send it through email. Anything that is in your email is saved forever.
yes.
So just make sure you document all those things, so that when you're leaving, when you ask for your caution fee, it will be very difficult for the landlord to say that you spoiled this, you destroyed this, you damaged this, or you did this. So in those cases, what usually happen is the landlord get greedy, because the caution fees are usually high. So they don't want to put it down. They don't want to return or refund the caution fee. So they come up with excuses and reasons not to do it. So what you just want to do is to make sure that you're very careful by not damaging the landlord's property, and you make sure that you take proper caution with regards to all the documentary evidence you want to gather together, to not let the landlord create a scene that did not exist or
Okay.
was not caused through you.
Let me even ask this one. So, in the case where a tenant now is leaving the house undamaged, nothing the way he met it, and he now goes to request for his security or caution deposit, as the case may be, and the landlord refuses to give it to him, what steps can be taken?
Now, I always advise that if it's something you can let go of, let go of it, because the only recourse you have is going to court. Yes, Lagos State has created the Citizen Mediation Center, but the powers that they have are little to none. You can try that too, it might work. However, it's always best to go to court. But the tenants, the good thing about tenants are you can stay until you see that. You can stay even after the expiration of your tenancy, which is unfair to the landlord. And like I said from the beginning, the protection for tenants in Nigeria or in Lagos landlord and tenancy laws is very, very high. It's way too much.
It's favorable for the tenant.
It's way more favorable to the tenant than the landlord, and of course there's a reason for that. I think it was a British case where a landlord chased a woman and a child out in the cold, and they died from they froze to death.
Oh, wow.
So since then you just can't chase anybody out of the house. They created that law, and we Nigerians, we are very good at
We've
copy and
abided
paste.
to that.
So we just copied the law and we pasted it, not looking to the reason why the British did that. So even though it's still applicable here, because it's really unfair, even a pregnant woman, you can't just chase them out. You should consider some things, give them time to get somewhere else. So that's the reason why it's much more favorable to the tenants than the landlord.
Okay. Anyways, if you're just joining us, it is Legal Matters here on Jubilee 997 FM Lagos. And I've got with me Barrister Olumide Sonupe. We're talking about landlord and tenancy rights in Nigeria. The phone lines are very much open for you to be a part of the conversation right about now. 0805 251 9337. 0805 251 9337, as well as 0704 100 8997, 0704 100 8997, and 0704 100 7997. That is 0704 100 7997. You could call into the show, as well as send your text or WhatsApp messages to the number 0805 251 9337. All right. Remember, when you call into the show, please turn down the volume of your radio set and go directly to your questions. Okay. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and then just drop your questions. No long stories and all. Okay. So, back to the questions, because I have a lot of questions I'm going to be asking today. So, okay, I had a story recently of someone who said he moved into an apartment, and it was a bit deadbeat. It wasn't all nice and all, and he went ahead to change things in the house to his taste. He laid tiles on the ground, changed the windows from louvers to sliding windows, and all just to satisfaction. And he says 1 year later, the landlord told him to move out of the house, and that his son or thereabout wanted to move in because the house had taken a new look, a better look than when he rented it. And in such situation, how would you advise such a tenant, or what would you even say in such a situation?
Yes, tenants tend to get carried away when they are too comfortable. So when you enter into someone's house, once you become too comfortable, you start to forget that it's not your house. So you don't just go ahead and start upgrading without seeking permission. You seek permission first. You let the landlord know that I'm going to be making some expenses on this property. And at the event of me leaving this place, I would like a refund. You have to let the landlord know. And this conversation are not conversation you should be having orally. You should have it in writing. Have a chat, have a conversation in your WhatsApp or contract, as the case may be.
What if the landlord is not literate?
Whatever the case may be,
You record
you
it.
can record it. Just make sure it is documented. You understand? And you let the landlord know that this thing is documented, so that there won't be any confusion in future. You understand? So that when he's about to pick, when it's time for his son to move in into the apartment, you will give him a reminder of what we agreed on. So my advice to tenants is, don't get too comfortable in a place or in a house that is not yours. Seek permission before moving forward, before making any drastic changes.
All right. Well, the phone is very much open. I just missed a call. Please do not call back. 0805-251-9337 to ask your questions concerning tenants and landlord in Nigeria. All right. Let's go to the phone lines. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon,
Good afternoon, Funsho. How you doing?
I'm fine. This is Fisher from my boss.
Yeah, Funsho, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Please, I want to know the benefits of the 6 months. Is it only applicable to people that take the matter to court, or presumably it's for everybody?
Okay.
And then during that period of that 6 months, will the tenant pay for that 6 months, or it's free? I don't understand, sir.
Okay.
Then, secondly, sir, if you rent an apartment and then the color is quite massive, is it that for a tenant, can you convert it without informing the landlord to like a room and parlor somehow? It's not as if you are doing some form of a block, but just like a demarcation with some form of aluminium, something like that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Barrister.
So let me answer the last question. I just made it clear that you shouldn't feel too comfortable on another person's property. You don't just go ahead and make demarcation on some change in an area on an apartment and expect it to just fly without seeking and being granted permission to do so by the owner. So always seek permission. Secondly, 6 months notices are only applicable to a yearly tenant. So if you pay for a year and you are being given a contract, if you were not given a contract, it is the law, the rules and regulations that are in the law of the area that you live in. Like I said, we have the Lagos Tenancy Law and we have the Rent Control and Recovery of Premises Law of Lagos State 1997. So depending on the area,
and this very money was not written in a receipt that the landlord gives. My second one is that if somebody rents a house and he just park and
and then we lost him there. All right, do well to call back, but then I guess the barrister will address the question about this issue of commission and agreement. It was something I was going to ask about,
so
but then
I think we talked about that the last time. So what I would say is, for example, the man that just asked for commission and about a commission and agreement. If, for example, you are the one that brought in tenants for the landlord, the commission goes to you because you were the one that introduced the tenant. If it's like a 10-bedroom apartment for different tenants and you brought in 9 people, all the commission goes to you, not the landlord. That is the reason why it doesn't go into the agreement. It doesn't come with the receipt, because they are paying you for your stress, for looking for someone for the landlord.
But some landlords still charge if maybe you come to them. I don't know how to do it, but they still tell you to pay for these things. Why?
If you come to them, it's not proper. If you're the one that came in to them, it's not proper, because the point of commission is that The person that did the hard work should get the money. No hard work is being done. So why are we paying?
And
But
that's for commission, right?
That's for commission.
The
But the fact that
one
it
that
is
has to do with
not proper-
agreement is now what?
Yes, the fact that it is not proper doesn't mean that you cannot turn back and say, I'm no longer interested. It's really your choice
As the house hunter.
with regards to the house. If you don't mind the commission, if you don't mind paying the commission because the house is what it is, best to just move in.
But then in here in Lagos or maybe in Nigeria, I mean, every house you go to, they must ask you for commission and agreement. You must pay for commission and
It's
agreement.
not all houses,
But majority.
but majority, yes.
Okay, let's.
Now, when it comes to agreements,
Okay.
I think the
Yeah, there's a caller online. Hello.
Hello, Yousuph.
All right. Good afternoon, Dampi.
I greet you.
I greet you too.
Yes, it's Dampi from Igom.
Okay.
Yes, I greet you, Barrister.
Hello, sir.
Yes, thank you for teaching us to be learned a little.
It's well.
It's all right. Well, a quick one. But what is this case whereby you have been an old tenant and the landlord keep increasing the rent like every year, every 2 years, and you are an old tenant? Is it not something that is against the law? Because I heard that if you want to increase the house, it should not be some certain percent, maybe like 30% increase according to the law, if I'm wrong. But you have been an old tenant like 4 years, 3 years, and they start increasing that rent almost every year, 2 years. I think that is against the law. Please, I want you to educate me about that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so when it comes to increase in rents, there's nothing illegal about it. The fact is, the landlord is the owner of his house. He can increase his rent at any point in time, be it every 2 days or 3 days. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the increase fair? Does it commensurate with the economic standard of the area? If it doesn't, you have a recourse. You go to court, or in case of Lagos State, you go to the Citizens Mediation Center. What they will usually do is they will look into it. They will say, okay, in this area, the rents that is common in this area is 100,000. But you can see you have AC instead of fan. You have upgraded tiles. You have what is suspended ceilings that would draw heat. Absorb heat. You have this. They will consider all those things to say, okay, you cannot compare this to face me, I face you, where the toilet is on the outside part of the building and all that. So for that, they might say, okay, the increase, we can say if it's 100,000 for the area, at least the house can take about 50. It shouldn't go beyond that.
That's 50% increase.
I'm not saying 50%. I'm just saying that would come into 150.
Okay, 150. Okay.
And the landlord is saying 170. You tell them that 170 is too high. What we can agree to, what we can say that you should be charging is 150. However, the landlord, given that the tenant is already living there, you cannot just increase it. You cannot increase it beyond that 150. A normal magistrate court will tell you that is the best I can give for the landlord. If you're not okay, give him the 6 months notice. He will leave after 6 months, but the increase will not be applicable. So when the the magistrate or the judge, as the case may be, is allowing the eviction, it will only allow it to the point of 150,000 naira. It will not give the extra money on top, which is the 20,000 naira. That's how they do the calculation. So it's on the dependence of the area and the value of the building or the premises.
Okay, let's take this call and I'll ask you this question. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon.
I'm still Oyewole. Sorry to come back.
All right, go ahead. Mr.
Here in the case of this area of commission and agreement, because of this, a tenant is going away, packing away without the information of the landlord, and he brought another person in, and the landlord says that individual must part because he is unnotified. In this area, what the law says.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
So, the law, in case where you do not have a contract or an agreement, the law is very specific with regard to subletting. So you cannot sublet. If you're going to sublet, you must have the consent of the landlord. So the landlord lets the property to you, you don't have the right to sublet it. It's not your property. So bringing in someone in without informing the landlord, telling the landlord that, look, I have 7 months more left to go. Is it possible a friend of mine can stay for that period of time so that I can leave? If it's reasonable, the landlord will probably allow it. But if it's not, that's just it. The remainder of your time, you have to give it back to the landlord, and you're not entitled to refund.
Okay, well, I think let me add a bit to this. I think what many people do or avoid or try to avoid is the payment of commission and agreement. So they come under the guise of, oh, this is my brother coming to live with me for a period of time. Then the original tenant now moves away unknowingly to the landlord, and then because you've been told this person is the brother or sister or relative, you see them often, and after a while, when you begin to ask, where is this person? Where is this person? Before you know it, the person has moved. So you as a landlord, can you now go and say, okay, since your brother has moved, would you request that new tenant pay for the commission and agreement and all that, or do you tell the tenants to leave as well?
Commission and agreement comes in before anybody can even enter or even access possession.
Yeah, but this person didn't come as a tenant.
So what I'm saying is, the question that the man is asking doesn't even have anything to do with commission and agreement, because agreement is we are still agreeing on what we should do. You understand? The commission of the agents that brought you. You understand? So we've not really gotten into possession. What he is actually talking about has to do with the fact that he has spent, like, he paid for a year, he has spent 6 months, he now realized that he has gotten a visa to Canada and he's leaving in the next 2 weeks, and he has a sister or a cousin or a brother somewhere, and he's like, I still have like 5 months to spend here or 7 months to spend here. Will you come and stay here so that you enjoy the remainder of my rights on this land while I leave to Canada in the next 2 weeks? And that one that doesn't wants free house without paying rent and this thing, will just come. He will stay there for the 2 weeks that the other guy that is there, so that he will be able to familiarize himself with the area, and they will be like, he was the one that invited him in. He's not like a thief or a criminal that just came from nowhere. So he's here, and then the landlord would just see that the person that is my tenant, I can't even find him anymore. Where is he? The funniest thing about it is you still cannot evict that person without proper notice. The law is very tedious when it comes to someone that is in possession. You have to follow the guidelines. Give him notice. If you know that he is not your actual tenant that's got into this thing, and you don't want to be going through 6 months notice, go direct to the courts. The rules have changed. Notices starts. Let the court decide. Because at the end of the day, yes, it did not break into the property, because there's another rule for people that are squatters. Squatters are people that are seen as adverse possessors. That is, they come into someone's, they just say, nobody is living in this house. Okay, if nobody is living in this house and I need a place to stay, why don't I just enter into the house and be staying there? They'll take care of the place. They'll turn that place into their own. You even see some of them paying taxes. And the law says, I think it's 12 years. The law says that if they stay there for a period of 12 years, that house will belong to them.
Oh.
Yes, even though they are not the owner of the house.
The law. Okay, the law is quite a funny one. I have a message here, and this one says, would tenants pay for the 6 months notice for living in an apartment? 6 months issued after the notice of eviction comes in. Do they need to still pay, or are they just going to be there pro bono for the 6 months?
You have to pay.
I'll still pay for that 6 months.
Yes.
Are you? But I thought they said when the landlord gives you, okay, yeah, your rent is due. I don't want you anymore in my house. And then the court says, okay, you'll be here for 6 months. Will you be paying? I thought it was for free.
Now, there are two types of payments. There is one, when you are a tenant at will, it means you are at the liberty of the landlord to stay there for free. In that case, you don't need to pay.
Okay.
Because the landlord has given you the leeway. Okay, you said you need 6 months. Your tenancy has expired. You need 6 months to gather and get yourself together. That's fine. So you become a tenancy at will. Now, a tenancy as sufferance are people that refuse to leave, even after the landlord says you need to leave and your tenancy is over. So they are just